So here, this is the standard equation for a circle. The center is at the opposite of whatever number this is. So we have negative h or minus h. The center is at regular h. So what I would say, what I would add is opposite goes there. Same with this. So if I had x plus 7, I would have a negative 7 here. If I had x minus 2, I would have a positive 2 here. You put in the opposite for the center. And then whatever this number is, you'll square root it, and that's what the radius will be. So it will look like something like this. So I'm going to draw a very simple graph. And I'm going to say 1, 2, just 3 tick marks in each direction. That's going to be my center. And it's going to go through 1, 1. So negative 1, negative 2 is my center, and there's a point 1, 1 on my circle. I still haven't asked like the question yet, so write the equation for the circle. So those are the instructions. So I'm going to use my form for a circle, the standard form, and I'm going to have x with some space squared plus y with some space squared equals something. So here's what I'm going to do. I was saying before that the center is opposite inside the formula. So raise your hand if you think you know what goes here for next to. So you put in the opposite from what the center is. So we get a plus 1. So h is the x coordinate for the center of the circle. Here is the center. I have my h, it's the opposite of this. So plus 1. And then for the y, I would put plus 2. I mean, you could write, actually no, I'm not going to say that because I think it would be confusing. You're just putting in the opposite of the center. And then raise your hand if you think you know how to find the radius. Look at this. This is the reason why we did what we did on the whiteboards. The radius is the distance between the center and a point on the circle. So we're going to use the distance formula to figure out the radius. So I'm using x2 minus x1. I'll do all those steps. y2 minus y1 using this formula. But I'm going to do it with 1, 1 and negative 1, negative 2. So I'll do those steps real quick, and then I'll show you how to put it in here. So we have negative 1. Subtract the numbers first. Minus 1. That gives me negative 2. Negative 2 minus 1, that gives me negative 3. Square the numbers next. This is all what we were just doing. So 4 and 9. Add the numbers 13, we get 13. And square root, and we get the square root of 13. So the radius is the square root of 13. But what goes inside the formula? R squared. So what we actually need to figure out is, what is R squared? If we square both sides of this, we just get regular 13. Tomorrow we'll be able to practice this a lot, but I'll give you one more example like this and then see if you can write it. So this is the equation of the circle. So write the equation of the circle. You're going to use that form that we had, this form. And you have to find the distance there and then square it. So try that and I'll come around and check. Alright, let's see here. First, we're going to have x with something in parentheses plus y with something. And we're squaring those two things and equals. Inside the parentheses, this takes the x coordinate except for its opposite. So I get x minus 3. Opposite of the 2, so minus 2. And then the lengthy part, which we did on whiteboards, that's finding the radius between 3, 2 and negative 1, 1. So we get negative 1 minus 3, that's negative 4. 1 minus 2, that's negative 1. Squared, we get 16 and 1. Add them, we get 17. Square root, we get the square root of 17. However, when we put it back in here, we have to square it. So we get regular 17. So r squared equals regular 17 if r equals square root. Because you're squaring both sides. So this is the answer. Because it's asking to write the equation of the circle.